Rushing into a rent-to-rent service accommodation property can be a big mistake. And that's not because the property doesn't make money. Like on sense, the deals can add up. But the thing you need to sort of be aware of is to make sure that the unit is actually going to be suitable for an Airbnb. And let me give a little bit more context to explain what I mean. So going back about 4 years now, I think this is in around 2022, I was taken on one of the first sort of ever service accommodation properties that I ran as a rent-to-rent. And everything looked good on paper. The property looked nice. We'd signed contracts with the landlord. We'd paid first month's rent. We paid deposit, picked up keys, and it was now ready for us to start furnishing it. Unfortunately, when we arrived to start furnishing, we discovered there was a massive issue in the bathroom. I can't remember if it was the bathtub or the toilet, but one of the two was leaking. Like, when I say leaking, like to the point it was just gushing water all over the floor. So at this point now, obviously we tried to contact the landlord to let them know the situation and see if they can get it sorted out for us. Radio silence. Just couldn't get through. Phone calls, text messages, WhatsApp, whatever it was, just couldn't hear anything. And eventually, when we did hear back from the landlord, she basically told us that we'd taken the property as it is. It's our sort of responsibility now to take care of any maintenance issues, anything like that. And we were left to deal with it ourselves. And honestly, it was the most frustrating thing, because imagine you've just paid all this money to set the property up, you've paid your rent, and now you've got to fork out another £400 or £500 to deal with a maintenance issue that wasn't even your fault, and technically shouldn't be your responsibility. So that was like a massive learning lesson for me. But the reason why I'm reminded of the story is because recently something similar has just happened to one of my mentees. So she'd taken on a new property, but unfortunately she hadn't actually told me. I think she wanted to keep it as a surprise. So when she did actually tell me, obviously we celebrated about it, it was great. But anyway, she took on this new property, got it all set up within a couple of days. And when the first set of guests arrived, they informed her that the shower pressure was like really low, almost to the point that you couldn't even have a shower. So naturally, my mentee went to the landlord, told him the situation to see if the landlord could then send someone around to come fix the issue. Eventually, after a week, somebody did come round, but it was only a temporary fix, because when the next set of guests arrived, they complained about exactly the same thing. And at this point, obviously my mentee went back to the landlord again to say, look, I know you sent someone round, but it hasn't done the job. It's only been a temporary fix. The issue is still ongoing. This time, nothing. Landlord's being really slow to respond, just not replying. And my mentee just can't get hold of the landlord. Meanwhile, there's guests that come in, the calendar's full, bookings are coming in, and she's constantly having to let the guests know or offer compensation to try and keep everyone happy. But in the meantime, my mentee basically found their own plumber to come around to the unit to sort of have a look to see if they can fix the issue. But unfortunately, what they said is that there was a serious issue to do with the whole property itself. The whole pipes had been corroded, everything needs to be sort of like redone again, and it was going to cost thousands of pounds to get repaired. It was not something you could just repair quickly. So obviously that wasn't very good news. And my mentee put it on an email, sent it over to the landlord to inform them of the situation. And then the landlord responded to essentially say that they don't have the money to even pay for that repair. If my mentee's not happy with the property, you can give back the keys and move on. Otherwise, there's nothing else that the landlord can do. And obviously this is a crap situation, because it's like, again, you put all this money, time and effort into securing this deal. You're sort of on a high note, you just secured this new property. It's going to make you X amount of money each month. And then you run into a massive situation like this that you just simply can't control. But of course, we'll sort out this situation. In business, there's always going to be problems and hurdles, but you can always overcome them. So we'll find some sort of solution for this instance. But it just goes to show that you need to be so thorough when you're taking on units. It's not just about looking at the numbers, seeing if the property is nice, but is it actually going to be robust? Is it going to be fit for purpose for an Airbnb? And the way you can check all these things first starts when you're viewing the unit. So when you're going on the viewing, don't just take a few pictures and see if your furniture will look nice in there. Literally test all the appliances. I'm running all the taps. I'm checking the water pressure, checking the hot water, looking for any potential signs of mold or damage. I'm literally looking at the property through the perspective of a maintenance person. Because if there is anything that you notice that's wrong or potentially needs fixing or replacing, you can highlight it to the landlord before contracts are signed. Because once you have signed contracts and money's been paid, you might find that the landlord's a little bit more reluctant to get anything changed, or they might take a little bit longer to respond. So if you make sure the property's in a good working order before you take it on, then hopefully there shouldn't be any issues that you experience during your contract. And then the next thing leading on from there is also making sure that you do have a robust contract in place as well, that clearly defines and stipulates what the landlord is responsible for. Because yes, as a rent-to-rent service accommodation company, you're going to be taking care of minor maintenances. So if the toilet seat needs changing, or there's like a little leak under the tap, those are things that we will take care of. But if there's things that are structural, related to the boiler, or serious issues like this where the whole pipes have been corroded inside the property, this is something for the landlord to step in and get done. So it's important you have like a good contract in place that sort of protects you and safeguards in case a landlord then turns around and decides to change their mind and say they're not getting something fixed. So the moral of the story here is to make sure you do your due diligence on a property before you take it on. Knowing your numbers is one thing, but ensuring the property is going to be suitable for your business is another. And I'm not making this video to say that all landlords are bad, they're never going to help you if there's any issues, because some landlords are great. Like I've worked with some really good landlords as well who will actually help and step in when there's issues. But you always want to safeguard in case you get that landlord that isn't. So don't just rush into any deal. There's plenty of other opportunities. You'd rather miss an opportunity rather than getting into a complete disaster that's going to lose you money. So that's my thoughts for today. Hope it helps. And make sure you thoroughly check your properties before you sign contracts.